always had the entrepreneurship gene. It came just from mirroring what I saw. My mother was a super entrepreneur. We were always having garage sales. So I always saw her putting herself in a position to sell and to make extra money to take care of her kids. And so I've always had that in my genes, so to speak. As I got older, I understood that for my imagination and the type of lifestyle that I was attracted to and the things that I wanted to do and accomplish and experience, I just knew very early on a 9-to-5 job wasn't going to do that for me. I had aspirations in sports. Like any other young Black kid in the projects, we think that we're all going to go to the NBA and that's what's going to be our golden ticket to buy our mom a house and get us out the hood. And so I had those aspirations and I went for it with all of my heart, but it came up short. When you say you've been with someone over 25 plus years in LA in this environment that we're in, knowing that I was in multiple industries and we have done so much and fought through so much, I just think it's the epitome of what a lot of people should strive to, because the divorce rate is so high right now. It's because there's very little understanding of what it truly means to partner with someone. A lot of people do it for the party of it, the vanity of it, for the lust of it, but it really goes deeper and it's a spiritual connection that a lot of people aren't aware of.
Make sure you take the time to like, share, and subscribe. Go and hit the subscribe button so we can keep giving you guys content, so you guys can be notified as soon as we drop some news and information that's really going to help you. And then another thing, guys, and by the way, subscribing, it doesn't cost any money, nothing, no dollars, just go in there, hit the subscribe button. Again, Spotify, make sure you download our episodes on Spotify. We are exclusive to Spotify because we are getting that deal.
Okay, welcome back to the Rubasha Family Podcast. Now, we have a very, very special guest in the building, Major Williams, the founder of Major Kicks for Kids, you know, a father first and foremost, which is, I'm sure, your most proudest accomplishment, you know, author of Majorvation, unleashing your inner drive for success, and highly skilled entrepreneur, you know, seeing your experience, your background. But for me, what I saw having a look at you, apart from all the titles, I saw someone with a vision, you know, someone with a vision who's documenting his life in order to show, you know, his kids, right? Order to show how you built your empire, how you are in the process of building your empire. You know, I saw the vision. I saw the way you portray yourself on social media is a vibe of what you see is what you get. Right. And so I noticed that, and, you know, being able to have this conversation, it's about family, the family podcast. So welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. You know, I always tell people, you know, when they acknowledge and they see that side of me, is basically my contribution to where we are in this particular era and decade. You know, our great grandparents would write notes in their diaries, right? And they would leave us notes and letters. That way we can trace, you know, some of the principles and morals and values and just experiences that they had, then on to like video and stuff like that. And so when I'm doing those things on social media, I'm doing it 10 times more in my personal vault, just so they can kind of follow my personality and just kind of follow some of the teachings that were passed on to me by my elders before then. So I hold that very, very dear to my heart. So I put a lot of intention into that. So thanks for acknowledging that, for sure.
No worries. It's, to be honest, I see it because like I'm on that same journey. So I could see it straight away, right? I could see the documentation. I could see how even always talking about your children, right? Like that's something that I really, really loved, is like you part of who you are. You know, I'm around a lot of high level entrepreneurs, but one thing with you is always family, your children, because you get it, right? You get it. Sometimes in what I do, I'm having to educate people like, look, think about if you could watch thousands of hours of your grandparents, right? Think about, you know, one thing my dad talks about is Africans, we never wrote down our history, right? So like the white people, they did it, right? From 1900s, my dad till today listens to people like Neville Goddard and Reverend IK. He listens to them, right? And that's what, you know, what you're doing. When you're no longer here, people will be watching and reading your books and studying your content. So I think, especially as Africans, that's one thing we never really did, is to document, right? And put it out there. And yeah, I just love the family ethos.
No, absolutely. I thought it's extremely important. And so, like I said, I'm very intentional about it. And the development of my sons, because I have three boys, is, it's very crucial for me because there's two sides of the spectrums in regards to who I was going to be as a person, but also as a parent, as a father, and also as a husband. And growing up in a single parent household, not having a father in my household, I could have went either way on the spectrum, right? I could have been a replica of the person who never was in my life, or I could have looked at that as a challenge or just a nod to myself to be like, you know what? Once I'm in this predicament or have this situation or be blessed to have kids and a family, I am not going to do what this person did to me. And I think that's why I'm just so passionate about that. But also, it's just a season of a new dynamic in entrepreneurship. I'm an entrepreneur for the last 20 plus years in a variety of industries. And what I've learned from different people, even at the height of their success, they were either lonely, they were bitter, or they was missing something. And so my take is that every time I seen these individuals, they were solely by themselves or with their handlers. And for a short period of time, I saw myself as that as well, and I didn't feel well. And so I was trying to figure out what is the missing component in the element, and the missing proponent is coming home after being gone for 2 weeks on the road, and your kids' feet are two sizes bigger, than before you left. And you're seeing their growth. And my 13-year-old has like a shadow, little mustache. You're like, what the heck is going on? And so you just become more aware. And I just say, you know what, I got to keep my people around me as much as possible. And that's kind of how that morphed into that particular situation. So I've always been family oriented, but even more so over the last 5 years, I've been very deliberate about grooming my kids with information, with the experiences, so I can actually not only just speak it to them, so they can actually see daddy, in business settings, and just engaging with people and being fearless. And I think they've adopted a lot of my personality thus far in regards to what they're doing now.
Powerful, powerful. So let me ask you, like, as an entrepreneur, I don't have children yet, so this could be, kind of some mentorship, advice. How do you balance that, right? Because where I'm sitting now at the moment, it's just like I'm so obsessed with this, like I'm all the time, right? So, I have a girlfriend, and even sometimes that, like, in term, she's very understanding, but this is an obsession. So how do you balance that now, adding children in the mix and still being able to see them grow, be there for them, but still, being that masculine essence you are, head of the household, being able to go out and do what you do?
I think it comes down to just simplifying the scope and also your lens. Like, what do you prioritize, right? And as an entrepreneur, sometimes we get lost into busy work versus productive work. And
Mhm.
sometimes we get obsessed with the busy work that's really not producing a whole lot. So that you actually have time for those other things in your life, right? And another thing that I realize is that if I incorporate my kids, so this is a perfect example. So I had a multi-million dollar clothing brand many years ago. It's
Mhm.
called Lord Major Apparel. It's very successful at its height. Deviated from it, went into a different direction. But fast forward a few years ago, I launched Toji, which is a faith-based clothing brand, which is called the Only Superstar is Jesus. That's the acronym. And I didn't have much time for it, but I knew that my son liked the brand. So I essentially just gave him the brand, labeled him as the creative director, and made him a co-founder, and told him to go have at it. What that did was it allowed me to incorporate my family. So when I'm working on the clothing brand side of things, my son is right there with me, and my other son is right there with me. And on the flip side of that, there's cameras placed all over that's capturing those moments of us working together. So not only are they experiencing, when they see the playback, the endorphin and what happens in their mindset when they see that, it makes them want to do it even more so. And it makes it make sense when I'm describing how important it is for us to do things as a family, for us to work together, for us to be selfless, and also to build what we're building to be more so of a service to others versus just building it just for us to just take all the rewards and benefits of it. So it just comes down to prioritizing the reality of what you're really doing, because a lot of people get jaded by the busy work versus the productive work. And my productive work 3 hours can eclipse and surpass anybody who's been working 18 hours a day. 3 hours of my work can surpass a person because there's true outcome from that work in those 3 hours. And that's the hugest difference. Just that acknowledgement.
Yeah, I love the idea with your son and how you've done that, because it's so strategic, but it's so smart. I love that, being able to, have your family and then you're documenting on top, a little bit similar with us in terms of documenting everything. It's like it's with the family. So it just naturally becomes a part of who we are and what we do, and that we can do it as a business. So with one question is, you said you grew up without your father. What do you think the difference is now navigating in the world the way you did and what you had to go through to get where you are, and then your children, because I think right now more than ever, children need their fathers, and daughters the most and sons the most. Right now, more than ever in society, the father is everything within the home. And when I say everything in terms of a big part into who someone becomes, right? Or who someone cannot become. So what's the difference do you think that you can start to see when your kids keep growing up that they'll have that you didn't?
I think so. There are a variety of elements that exist now that obviously didn't exist when I was growing up in my era. And a while back, there was a gentleman that was interviewing me, and we were just going down memory lane of our childhood and the areas that we grew up in. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, and his eyebrows went up. He was like, "Oh, Texas! I know it had to be interesting." And I was like, Why did you say that?" And the first thing he said to me was like, it's really racist in Texas. There's a lot of rednecks in Texas. And I'm sure, you've probably heard the N word a million times. And he was perplexed because I told him during my childhood, I had never had the N word ever said to me. And what he didn't understand is that it's not that it didn't exist in Texas, because I'm sure it did and it does. It's just that I never strayed out of my community. Right. And a lot of people don't understand that context. I was just like, I didn't experience it because we had our local park, we had our local grocery store, we had our local car wash. So we had everything in our little section, and we didn't have a car. Right. So our dynamic was a lot different. So it kind of saved me in a sense to go and experience some of those things on the outskirts that were probably in those other communities. But what I will say is one of the biggest differences is that the access to information. We've always had a certain degree through books and TV networks of news that we used to trust. But the access to information is a lot different now, which could trump your work and your efforts with your kids. No different than if you send them off to a school and they have different views and different teachers that are teaching different philosophies that are different from your household. And so it's kind of like you have to double down on your presence with your kids. And I think that's the biggest difference, because it's a tug of war for their attention. Their attention span is already very short these days with everything that's out there with social media, with these devices, and just with different ideologies out there. You really have to figure out creative ways to resonate with your kids, but then you have to rinse and repeat and continue to do it over and over again. And so what you realize as a parent, it can become exhausting, right? But if you truly care about your child and you know what lies ahead for them, you're gonna go out there, you're gonna go and put your best foot forward and continue to do it, because there's no science to it. There's no one way to do it. Every one of my kids' personality is different, so I have to parent them very differently. But I would just say the biggest difference is just that the access to information is a lot more broader, which could make your job a little bit harder. The programming and some of the television shows as well. I heard my young 5-year-old jokingly, of course, he was fighting with his brothers, and he told his older brother, he's running behind him, "Come here, pretty boy. Come here, pretty boy." Just like taunting him. I'm like, how did you learn to taunt? What cartoon did you get that from? Like, so it was comical, but it goes to a bigger thing that's out there, that it's possible to influence your kids when you're not around. because I don't say that. I don't know where the heck he got that from, right? So I just think the access to information is the biggest difference, and it creates a different kind of challenge for a parent, to parent properly and fully with so much that exists out there when it comes to information.
Yeah, I think even just what you said there about your son is powerful, right? Like environment and what they pick up. And like even at my older age, everything in my environment, I'm totally very cautious of, right? If and negative vibrations, anything and I'm actually learning not to run away from it. Like sometimes you just may be around a negative person, but still you're very cautious of it. So, at that young age, right, you can imagine, especially the agendas and things that are getting pushed out in the world. And for me, like I always say, like, look, people are fine to do what they want to do and what they want to push. That's what we're building now. We're building our network where we are, being able to teach these things. But like you said, you have to be very cautious, especially with children, and what they're picking up. So, a question would be, can you talk to us a little bit about now your journey, right? So, into your entrepreneurship and who you've become, and also meeting your wife as well. I think obviously having that feminine queen and that role beside you has helped, as I said, build that empire. And it's so, again, in the world we live in now, Black families, right? To see that, for people to see that, and you're documenting that, which is amazing. So can you talk to us about that journey, of your life?
Yeah. Actually ask you a question. I want you to think about this question. Are you an authority figure in your space? I know you're an entrepreneur, well, you're a solopreneur, and you're determined, you're a thought leader. But the question is, are you an authority figure in your space? Because let's be honest, how are you going to separate yourself from your competitors? Where is your personal brand? And you know what? We have actually something very special for you. Follow me. You see, we have a scorecard, right? So you can actually evaluate if you're an authority figure in your space, because at the end of the day, when you separate yourself from your competitors. That is where opportunities come to you because your brand is strong. You have brand equity. So for you to actually see how long away you are from that, or if you're close there, the link in the description, you can fill out a scorecard. And this scorecard is amazing because it lets us know and see where you are. And it's just for free for you to actually see where your business is, where you are as a solopreneur, and how you're going to get to that level of being an authority figure in your space. Because you see, here at ETS Rubasha Media, I'm going to be honest with you, we are at limited capacity. We only want to be able to tailor our clients to the ones we know we can deliver value, because value takes time and we want to be able to work with your business. But the scorecard is actually just for you to see where you are and are you an authority figure? Think about it and we'll see you. Link in the description.
I think I've always had an entrepreneurship gene, although I didn't know that's what it was called back then when I was cutting yards or selling car incense at the car wash, trying to make a buck. And my ambitions were truly to just make enough money to go and buy hamburgers and like a jungle juice at the corner store, right? But because I, started at such a young age, I really was all about figuring out how to make money. The next thing I did on my entrepreneurship journey from a young age was teaching myself how to cut hair. Shout out to my cousin Gus, who I messed up a few times in learning that trade, right? But I've always was doing that, and it came just from mirroring what I saw. My mother was a super entrepreneur. Our house was the candy house. We were always having garage sales, so I always saw her putting herself in a position to sell and to make extra money to take care of her kids. And so I've always had that in my genes, so to speak. But as I got older, I understood that for my imagination and the type of lifestyle that I was attracted to and the things that I wanted to do and accomplish and experience, I just knew very early on a 9-to-5 job wasn't going to do that for me. So I had aspirations in sports, like any other young Black kid in the projects. We think that we're all going to go to the NBA, and that's what's going to be our golden ticket to buy our mom a house and get us out the hood. And so I had those aspirations, and I went for it with all of my heart, but I came up short. And so the next thing, I go over to the second love, which was music, and get into the music industry very early on. Started out as a roadie, on a tour with some really big artists, and having the opportunity just to be around and soak up that environment and that experience and travel. But then once that glimmer of hope or that door of opportunity opens, you slide in there. I was able to start writing on other records, adding my opinions. And then from there, I started getting publishing and then learning how to tinker and make my own production and just being around so many other influential people. And had a cousin that played for the Clippers for a good period of time as well. And so I was at every Clippers game for like 4 years straight. And during that time, I started cutting some of the guys' hair. And from cutting their hair, you get familiar with those guys. Having a marketing background educationally, I would figure out different brand deals that I can bring because I wanted to mimic some of the success that someone like Steve Stout in the music industry had with his success. And I became like a miniature Steve Stout. I will always be the person that's brokering opportunities and bringing partnerships together. And so I started to do that with NBA players and professional athletes and also other music artists, and created a management company. So I just had so many different layers and experiences, but it was all due to having that access. It was all in my proximity to be able to evolve into these particular roles that I was able to take on. But over the last 7 years, all those things were kind of put to the side as I kind of dove really heavily into public service in the political field and just really getting active in communities. I ran for mayor of Pasadena back in 2018. I made history getting the most votes ever out of our first-time candidate, came in third. And then obviously around that time, right afterwards, the shutdown happened all over the world, right? And we were severely impacted by that. But during that time, a lot of people were frustrated, including myself, with the leadership here in California. And there were a lot of people saying that, we would love to have someone run for governor. And then there was these little whispers in my ear, you should run, you should run, you should run. And I was like, no, I just lost my race. I don't want to run anymore. Because, having a sports background and being competitive, I felt like it was like a game, right? I just lost. And how am I eligible to run? And I just lost. But I realized very quickly the entertainment industry, sports industry, and political industry are all different when it comes to wins and losses, obviously. And so, I gave it a shot, and I became very publicly known as a gubernatorial candidate. During that time, I was able to gain so much valuable wisdom, create some great lasting relationships, and some new partnerships as well. I was came top 10 candidate in California, which is a huge feat out of 41 candidates. So it was a crazy experience. I ran for 2 years. But from there, if you look at the chapters afterwards, it has allowed me to kind of realign myself with some of the things I was doing beforehand, like getting back into the fashion world, getting back to being an authority when it comes to understanding the importance of communication, public speaking. Now I have online classes. Now I'm paid to publicly speak at certain places, deliver keynotes. And so I've basically monetized who I am as a personal brand, why I'm building my personal brand. But I did have a nice little boost by getting as many votes as I did in California, getting that type of notoriety and press. So at this point now, I just really pour into a lot of people, and I created my nonprofit to allow me to continue to give value to the future, which are the young people. And if I can kind of share my testimony and story and have others come and share as well, I feel like, it'd be a job well done in regards to legacy wise.
Powerful. Let me ask you, you touched on the personal branding. What made you want to dive into your personal brand? Like, I feel for you, maybe it was something that you've been doing. Is it subconsciously? Have you been doing it intentionally? Because, it's something that is really intentional. Sometimes it can happen just authentically of just, wanting to document, and then you end up building a powerful personal brand. Obviously, you've had a fabulous career, within, from your young entrepreneurship days all the way up until politics. So what made you really get into and be intentional about personal branding?
I think it came down to the acknowledgement that I've always been building a personal brand. I just didn't use that wording, no different than being an entrepreneur since I was 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
But now we have the education and we have the wording for it. And therefore, when you have the understanding of what it is you want to become, you categorize it and then you move with intention to make sure you can manifest that. And so I believe in creating a brand, which is why you see everything is Majorvation. Of the EP album is Majorvation. Of the book is Majorvation. The fitness club is Majorvation Fitness, right? There's Majors Fit Club. Like, so there's all these different things. Is a play on the word, on the name, but it's really fun to be able to build a personal brand off your actual name. I got a pre-workout that's coming out because I've been on this journey to get in the best shape of my life in regards to fitness. And so now I have health supplements and, a pre-workout that's coming, and it's called Majorvation, right? Majorvation fitness supplements. So I think it's important. I think the era that we're in right now, I think that just a regular person should be focusing on a personal brand. And that's why I talk about so much about self-development. And even like my public speaking one-on-one class, I dive into a lot of those elements because it all correlates and coincides together. Because you have to be able to leverage yourself, your ideals, your goals, your dreams, and your ambitions. And it takes that amount of intention in order to do that. And so, yeah, so I've always been building a personal brand subconsciously. I'm just now aware of the wording of it, and I'm being intentional about it. And I would say the groups that I've been around, I'm able to kind of rub off on their energy as well and see some of the things they've done and built. And I was like, you know what, I want to be able to do that. That's pretty cool what they did. And so that's where I'm at with it right now. Moving with intention.
Moving with intention. I love it. I love it. I find similarities within myself in terms of, just unconsciously doing it. But it's so powerful what you said, being able to leverage, right? Like, you are unique, you are special. And what is very interesting when you do have a personal brand, like you just said, because you're that key person of influence, whatever you start, or you can go into fitness, you everything around your lifestyle becomes monetizable now, right? Because you already have the influence. Your people know you for that Majorvation, right? That they come just for your podcast. Someone will come just for your podcast, but because they love you, they love the way you're a family man, they love what you stand for. You open a fitness supplement, what are they going to do? They're going to go in and buy your products because they're buying into you, right? So
Yeah.
I love it, man. And for you to just be able to, your kids with their business, right? You're putting them in positions, right, that you never had, because now you've built a personal brand into who you are, and not just, you could have been who you are and not been documenting this whole time. You could have been doing what you're doing and not documenting, but you did that. So now the impact that's just going to have on everything around you, your children, your business, is, like you said, intentional, and I love it.
No, absolutely. I think it's important, man. And my grandfather used to always say, I may not have a lot of words for you, but you can see my actions, right? And that used to always resonate with me. And so it made me watch him even closer. Although he didn't have a lot of words, I seen him get up every day and work hard. I seen him bring home groceries. I seen him always provide. I seen him walk with his head upright, his chest out, very militant, very serious, but had a funny, charming side to him as well. And so I just think a lot of people should adopt that. It's just not a lot of words, but just watch my actions and just learn from those. And that's what I kind of do in the things that I'm doing, even with the documentary. I heard you say something earlier about the significance of portraying and showcasing Black families, right? And I pride myself in that as well, showcasing that. I think it's extremely important. And then comically sharing the timeline on how I first met my wife is, it's always like a funny story to a lot of people in regards to how that all transpired. And then when you say, you've been with someone over 25 plus years in LA, in this environment that we're in, knowing that I was in multiple industries and we have done so much and fought through so much, I just think it's the epitome of what a lot of people should strive to, because the divorce rate is so high right now. It's because there's very little understanding of what it truly means to partner with someone. I think a lot of people do it for the party of it, the vanity of it, for the lust of it, but it really goes deeper, and it's a spiritual connection that a lot of people aren't aware of, and they're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I'm happy to say that I was just like them. We have to grow into this. We don't have a magic wand. We can't really tell you the formula of what our success is. I just think that we continue to grow together, and we have massive, intense conversations about who we want to become, and then I think we work really hard helping each other become those things and supporting each other while we're both on those individual journeys to make ourselves happy. Because if we are individually happy, then we can actually come together and just be happy. It's not about us making each other happy. It's more so about us acknowledging that we have to be happy. And then us being together, both happy, happiness just happens, right? And so, it's a very uh, broad conversation for a lot of people, but I'm glad that you did highlight that and just show that some honor, because I definitely do hang my hat in appreciation of the fact that, I'd never seen this myself, so I don't have a model, but I'm the imagery of what this represents, so it's pretty cool.
And now more than ever, it's needed to see, right? And that's something that I always love to show. I'm fortunate enough to have my girlfriend from Kenya, my home country, and just that Black love, and documenting that, the parents, like, it's just so valuable, because it shows that other children, it shows how this is what it's supposed to be, right? Because they're going to show you different, right? And hey, you're entitled to the way you want to run everything, right? So, but if we can control that nowadays, we can control that. So, being able to portray that is really, really powerful. So with your wife going out, I want to touch on this conversation. What's that like? Is it the communication? Like, how have you got there?
You know what? It's taking a lot of communication. It's taking a lot of grace. It's taking a lot of mercy. It's taking a lot of tolerance. It's taking a lot of growth. Um, it's taking a lot of acknowledgement, spiritual reflection. It's taking so much. Like, we don't know. We laugh all the time, because we've had similar issues like all other couples and married couples, right? But for whatever reason, the core of who we are, we know that we really like each other. And individually, we know that we are good people. Um, in both being spiritually rooted, we know that we are imperfect people at the end of the day.
My name is Sujiro Rubasha, the co-founder of the Rubasha Family Podcast. Now, I know you have a story to tell. I know you have a mission and vision that you obsess constantly about, and you're solving problems in the marketplace. So I want to sit down and get your story. I want to hear the real juice and authentic of who you are, because at the end of the day, people want to know about you. They care about you as a human being. So this is your chance to come on the Rubasha Family Podcast and be part of our founder series. We are hosting a founder series with entrepreneurs from all over the world who had an imagination to create their business. We want to know you, the person, and how you're solving problems in the marketplace. So if you want to get in touch, fill out our quiz. Now, the quiz is a way for us to qualify you to see if you can come on the show. We can really see how powerful your brand is, where you are, so we can have you as an industry expert to come and tell your story. Business and life is all about communication. How can you tell stories, and how can I sit down and ask you questions that are going to get to your soul? See you soon.
I don't think my wife could choose any other husband that loves her kids, our kids, the way that I do. And I couldn't chose any other woman to mirror my ideals, ideology, my values, but also the person who parents my kids. So if anything ever happened to me, I would be, just fine, because I know I'm leaving my kids in good hands. That's how close we are in tune. But we don't have a formula, but it does take a lot of communication. It takes a lot of it takes a lot of forgiveness. So I want to be authentic and real when I say that. It's because I'm not perfect by no stretch and means of imagination, especially early on. I made a lot of bonehead mistakes, but I just think that my ability to just be who I am, with us having so much laughter, and we know we get along together, and we know we have each other's back, she is going to protect me by all means necessary. And I think that she knows that I will burn everything down over her, right? And so when someone feels that sense of protection, no matter their deficiencies and their flaws at times, there's an opportunity for that to blossom into something really special. Because what we see a lot of times with the social media and the couples and celebrities that are displayed showing us the night and day and the quickly the quick leaving type of marriages and whatnot. We know that those people are not built for it, and everyone isn't, apparently built for it, because marriage is not a bed of roses, man. Like, it's not like just walking hand in hands in the rose garden and it's always nice pleasantries. Life is life, and life be lifing. My grandmother used to always say that God rest her soul, we bury her tomorrow. Uh, but it just takes effort, and it just takes intelligence. It just growth, man. Like, it takes so many elements, right? And I think that's why people get it wrong, because it's not easy, you know, but it mirrors success. Like, when you see everybody, they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to be successful, they want to be rich. They just see the highlights and see the finished product of Jeff Bezos and all these other people. They see the finished product, but they don't see the garage beginnings. They don't see the frustrations. They don't see that this person had 7 foreclosures before they really hit. They don't see those things. And so what I'm hoping to show people is my actual journey. And that's why I was able to gain so much notoriety and success as a gubernatorial candidate, because I was uniquely different. I wasn't the same old, same old. I was the guy that was rapping derogatory lyrics with my pants sagging, showing my tattoos, speaking ill in certain ways. But you can also see my evolution of working in the community while I was doing that. My evolution of working in fashion while I was evolving from that. Working with professional athletes, going to church, just finding your way. It's okay. And I think that when people get a sense they get an opportunity to follow you on a journey, that in itself give them a stronger connection. And that's when I know what I represent, just a stronger connection, because I've been through what you've been through. I've experienced what you've experienced. I've had those same thoughts that you've had. The only difference is that I won't quit, and I won't quit on myself, and I won't quit on my family.
Very, very powerful. And let me ask you with the music too, I heard a little bit, and I love the idea, the vision. What's made, are you working on an album right now? Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm working on the EP album. It's not a full album, and it's just basically me just tipping my toe in the water, so to speak, right? It's been a while, and I've been very fortunate enough to be multi-talented, that I'm a songwriter, I am a producer, I can record, I can mix, I can master, I can do all those things. And I have all the abilities and equipment to do that at my studio, at my office. So I am working on a new project. With that said, it's called Majorvation. And the concept of my music, the theme is motivational, inspirational, real life music. And so when you listen to the music, you're gonna hear just like some real authentic raw stuff without all the other pleasantries. I'm not knocking any hip hop music. I just don't choose to have it filled with cuss words. And, I'm not talking about girls and all that type of stuff. I'm talking about like my marriage and how fine my wife was on that vacation, or how our car broke down, or just talking about just my ambition as a strong Black man, as a leader, raising other kids. And then I'm talking about some fly stuff too, to throw it in there, because it's an achievement. And I've done a lot in my life, and I'm very blessed that I've had certain opportunities. And so we just talk about different things. It's trying to find a different lane, which it actually mirrors who I actually am, right? So I'm more so like a common, more so than a Meek Mill. And I like Meek Mill music, but I would look at myself more so like a common type of artist with that type of flair.
It's interesting because what you're doing in your music, you're doing in your real life. You're doing on Instagram, you're doing on YouTube, right? And it's just another added layer to who you are. So that authenticity, the straight you, and I think that's so powerful, something that I really try to push, especially on social media branding, but just being you, right? So you're bringing all of those elements, and nothing changes with your music, just the same thing with your fitness and with every part of your life. so it's just a natural thing for you. And that's where I feel even just you tipping your toe in that, I see so many limitless opportunities. And again, the power of the world we live in now, the fact that you can run your empire, your YouTube is your media company, that, Majorvation, that's your media company. And, being able to run all these things through that, it's just, endless opportunities. I saw you on Patrick Bet-David's podcast.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? Yeah, what was that about? That was really cool. And yeah,
It
and
was,
tell us about meeting Patrick Bet-David as well. I've always found him a lot of things that we're talking about as well. I found similarities, so yeah.
no, Patrick is a phenomenal person. Anyone who follows him, I'm sure they would agree. I've had the opportunity to meet him during my gubernatorial campaign. And so I went out to Florida and I did the podcast with him. Great episode. It's over like an hour or so long. But the true value came from, because I'm a very observant person. Obviously, when you see people portraying a certain persona, on these social media platforms, on podcasts and whatnot, but it's another thing to like experience a person. I'm always about energy as well. And so afterwards, I had the opportunity to go have a private personal lunch with him afterwards. And we were in Florida. We went and hung out, we had some good laughs. We talked about the importance of family. We talked about the importance of having, conservative leadership here in California, just good leadership in general, right? It wasn't about right or left. It was just about having some people with some common sense, people, and get back to morals and values and protecting our kids, our families, and our access to build capital as entrepreneurs and also business owners. But what my takeaway from him is just, his ability to tell a story, but also to be the story. So there's two folds on why you will fall in love with watching a person like that win. And a lot of times people say, you'll hear stories of people envying that person win. Like, I actually enjoy watching this person win because I actually had the opportunity to hear the story and the journey, and it has similarities to the path that I'm on and I'm working towards as well. And so he is authentically as they come. I love the fact that he is a family man. That rubs off on me. I like hanging around other married men and also families because, we understand the work that it takes to make those things last. I think him having a foundation of faith, having principles and morals and values, how he parents his kids is very similar to how I parent my kids. His relationship with uplifting and putting his wife on that pedestal as well, and working with his wife like a partner versus just like a housewife or just disregarding, like it's all inclusive. And he understands the importance of her role, and they all understand the importance of all of their roles, which is great. But the podcast was great, man. We had some really great conversations. I think we're going to kind of bring back some of that old footage as well and kind of, get that back out there because there's still so many people haven't seen that interview. So I'm sort of sharing some of that as well. So it's funny you should say that. But Patrick is great, man. I look forward to reconnecting with him at some point and hopefully going to check out the new studio where he's at now.
Yeah, and even him with the media thing, exactly what we're talking about. He's doing it. We take a lot of notes from him and see how they're moving, because that's the trajectory. You said something though. You said he has the ability to tell a story and be the story. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Sure. It's just that, he has the ability to tell great stories when it comes to resonating with people. When you're trying to educate people or when you're trying to share knowledge and wisdom and add value, one of the best ways and tools and vehicles to use is a story. And so that's what I mean by that. His ability to not only carry his story, because he is the story, so that goes to him being the story, but also the ability to tell the other stories that empower people. He built a huge multi $100 million plus insurance company. And I've seen him at a variety of meetings with his agents before he sold the company, pouring life into them, uplifting them, inspiring them. And these were people that probably would be like at a regular 9 to 5, but yet they made $500,000 that year. Why? It's because the leader was able to convey a message, sometimes in story form, that resonated so much with their heart that activated their mind, but their mind activated their body in a real life that stripped away the fear that they initially had and the barriers that they had that made them go out there and become the best versions of themselves. So he doesn't have to say a good thing about himself anymore because he has a legions of people who are saying the good things for him. That's what I mean by that. So he is not only the story, he can tell a great story as well. And that's what makes him uniquely different and powerful on these platforms.
Wow, powerful. Okay, yeah. So just before we end off the show, I wanted to ask you, what's your vision? What are you doing in 5 to 10 years? What does that look like? What's inside your imagination?
I would say just really laying the foundation of the intention I have for Majorvation. So the personal brand, the overall company brand of Majorvation, and just creating Majorvation like the umbrella company where you have other entities up under it and truly build it out to where you have the Majorvation Fitness, you have the Majorvation Music, you have the Majorvation Media, you have the Majorvation Fashion, and you have the Majorvation, just the business in itself that handles all of my personal dealings, no different than the office of Major Williams, which acts as that now. So with the public speaking, with the online courses, with the book, which just hit over 200,000 downloads, so I'm excited about that. That is the ultimate purpose for it, but also make sure that I build a strong team, a strong team that I can count on, a strong team that I can trust, a strong team that I can learn from. And then with my nonprofit being added to that as well, just really building that to a point to where it's a sustainable nonprofit when we have team members all over the country. In addition to that, having launched an actual shoe through Major Kicks for Kids. So ideally, our concept is we raise money for a nonprofit, so our nonprofit can go and buy sneakers for kids in need. But what about we take it a step further and think big? Why don't we turn Major Kicks for Kids into a company that also manufactures tennis shoes, and we give those shoes away as well. So it's just having that vision, having that foresight, and not being afraid to think that I can compete in the shoe world. And to think about it, it's a whole nother market that's there when it comes to entrepreneurs and also just a giving tree of cool sneakers. So I look forward to doing that in the next 5 years.
Powerful, powerful. Love the vision. And I definitely can see, especially the way building out that Majorvation empire, you know what I mean? And the media being a big part of that, having studios. And so I can definitely see you doing all of that, with everything else. And yeah, really appreciate you for taking the time and coming on this podcast, especially, it is called the Rubasha Family Podcast. So it was a no-brainer to have someone like yourself, not only with the entrepreneurship side, but the family side, the morals and principles and values, and being able to communicate that as, two Black men, here in Australia, you're there in America. But, the day and age we're living in, there's nothing in that. No one can stop you, right? We don't need to go and ask permission. There is no such thing as a gatekeeper. Like, if you can't do it, move out of my way because I'm going to get it done, right? Like, and that's literally how it is. And I like how you said you're building a team and the communication, the being a leader, but really just being on the front foot, right? Like that athlete type of mindset. Like, if you can't get it done, move. I'm gonna get it done until I can find someone I can delegate, and keep building, learn from it. So I really, really love the advice that you gave this episode. And I'm sure the viewers here are gonna love it.
Absolutely. Well, man, I appreciate you once more, you and your family, for allowing me to come onto the platform and to kind of share a little bit of my background and some of the things that I have going on, and definitely stay in touch with us. I know Tina says she has all of you guys' information, so make sure to coordinate with her any kind of clips that you guys have, that you guys want me to share as well. And I love to support what you guys are doing as well too. So peace and love, brother. I appreciate it.
Cool. All right, man. Thanks so much. I'll let you get to it, and yeah, can't wait to release some of this already.
Sounds good, my brother. God bless you. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Calling all high-level entrepreneurs, you're a CEO, you're determined, you have a vision, and you're so busy right now. You're so busy and overwhelmed with what you love, and it's actually a good thing. You're focused on that. We want you focused on that as much as possible, but at the same time, you need to grow your brand on LinkedIn. It's as vital as ever, right? The person who gets the deal is the person who's the most visible. It's not being about good at what you do. So we are having an opportunity with our waiting list for all CEOs and high-level entrepreneurs who want to be able to grow their personal brand and garner opportunities, be able to speak in front of thousands of people, for you to be able to get inbound leads, enhance your sales team. You need to build a brand. When they come on your LinkedIn profile, whatever they see is so vital, and we are on the forefront of that, bringing up a new product to help you do exactly just that. Stand out in the marketplace with your personal brand, because it's you. People want to know you, the CEO. They want to know in behind you, and they want to be inspired by you. So when you supply that, you become the expert and you stand out. Join the waiting list so you can get access, inclusive insights in our WhatsApp community. See you soon. Make sure you take the time to like, share, and subscribe. Go and hit the subscribe button so we can keep giving you guys content, so you guys can be notified as soon as we drop some news and information that's really gonna help you. And then another thing, guys, and by the way, subscribing, it doesn't cost any money, nothing, no dollars, just go in there, hit the subscribe button. Again, Spotify, make sure you download our episodes on Spotify. We are exclusive to Spotify because we are getting that deal.
If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to click here, and I'm sure you're gonna love that one.